Hi, it's me again. Um, it's now 1:22 on the 15th of August 2024, the day after I attempted to submit evidence to the Department of Work and Pensions. Unfortunately, um, as we saw at the end of the last video, it was impossible. The evidence wouldn't submit. I then phoned up the Court of Appeals and spoke to a very nice gentleman who went round in circles a bit, suggesting I could email it, but the file is too big for email. I explained that I had previously sent 2 hard drives that they had received and passed on to the Department of Work and Pensions, but on the 8th of July, the gentleman, Ethan, it was actually Ethan. I got confused, mishearing it as Stephen, but it was Ethan. I've listened to it again. Ethan explained that they hadn't looked at it and they weren't going to look at it. So essentially, there is absolutely no physical way to send evidence to the Department of Work and Pensions for my appeal. There's just no way. I can't do it through their system because their system files out. I can't send it by email because it's far too big for email. I can't post it to them because I've posted it to them before and they've admitted they're not going to look at it. So there's a huge bottleneck. And I did speak to my mum earlier. And mum says, well, you know what? It's probably like the post office. You know, they've got really, really, really bad systems and you're never going to get past it. And you know what? She's got a very good point. Is this a completely futile attempt on my half to get past a software system and a general system because they're not looking at the evidence when I post it to them? Unfortunately, once my mind gets going on these things, I find it very hard to turn it off, especially because what the nice gentleman at the courts and tribunals did say is I should write directly to the judge. And I said, well, it wouldn't be the judge because he hasn't been, it's not even at that stage. And he mentioned, no, it's a judge, somebody who's rank of a judge. A judge is essentially a very, very good barrister or a solicitor who has been asked to come to join the bench because they are really good at law. And this sounded really, wow, okay, if I can send a message to a judge, that really does make sense because the judge would understand that well, these bottlenecks that you're talking about, they do exist. And yes, that is improper. Sorry, I'm just noticed this was unplugged. So that sounded like a good idea. Also, the illegality. Well, the warning the judge that as soon as that documentation that I've been sent that says I tried to commit suicide, that I have bipolar, which is extremely defamatory, as soon as that becomes public record, that is libelous defamation. And the woman who made that declaration, the psychiatrist who made that declaration based on Dr. Fajalio's medical record fraud, well, she would be liable for libel and defamation, as would the Department of Work and Pensions themselves be liable. And he would understand the law there and say, yes, actually, you are correct. Making false statements on court documentation paper presented to a judge is highly illegal. And there's a lot of other things. I actually went on and on and on, and I couldn't sleep until 4 a.m. No, sorry. I couldn't sleep until 2 a.m., but then I woke up at 6 a.m. So I've only had 4 hours sleep, and I need sleep to stop the pain. Now, I'm really, I'm smiling now, probably because the camera's on me, but I'm in a bad way. My whole shoulder is, we're now in, I wouldn't say it's the pain level I need to call an ambulance, but there's an awful lot of pain. And this pain has been caused by the inefficiencies of the system that I have to keep repeating and going through. And the irony is I'm trying to prove to them that I'm crippled. And it is that crippled state that they are causing it. I'm crippled. I'm not crippled in the shoulder. This shoulder has come from writing about 750,000 words. That's the equivalent of the longest 3 Harry Potter books back to back. That's how much work I've done, and that's not including the voice recordings. That will go up to about 2 million words, 4 times the length of Lord of the Rings. What happened was, August last year, after meeting Dr. James Jack, I started he advised me that pregabalin I shouldn't be taking pregabalin at all. So I started the Lyrica pregabalin hangover, because that drug, Lyrica pregabalin, that I was given due to criminal marketing, it's the largest fine in the history of the USA. In fact, in 2009, it was the biggest criminal fine of any fine in any category in the whole history of the USA. Lyrica pregabalin and 2 other drugs by Pfizer were criminally marketed. They co-opted the education process, and they wrote false articles in peer-reviewed magazines, so the poor psychiatrists who were reading them had no idea this was completely false information. Plus, there was a £502 million fraud. Well, it was not a fraud, it's a legal maneuver. Pfizer managed to trick doctors into writing Lyrica pregabalin as opposed to pregabalin. And that lost the UK £502 million that the taxpayers got to pay in 2015. This was the same year I was given the criminally marketed off-brand epilepsy drug. In fact, as I've mentioned, the most criminally marketed drug in the history of the world. I was given it. There were many drugs for anxiety. I didn't even have anxiety. I'd been given another criminally marketed off-brand epilepsy drug, Topiramate, and that's what the entire 14 episodes of the GMC podcast present. There's a huge amount of information on this. And we've got the medical records from Surrey and Borders. That's the health trust that deals with all of Surrey. They're completely above the law, and they are breaking the law all the time. They're a very, very bad organization. I don't know whether it was Dr. Fajalio himself or the legal authorities at that institution that removed. I came showing Dr. Fajalio the labeling on the medication he'd given me that says this causes suicidal thoughts for 1 in 10 users. And the only reason I knew this is since taking that medication in December 2014. And there was a point when I was doing exceptionally well. I was number 1, 2, 4, and 5 in Google for luxury villas in Cape Town. And I have a business, or actually at that time, I just launched a second business renting luxury villas in Cape Town. This second business did as well as the first and was a proof of concept for the SWeb the SWeb franchise system. SWeb is now Sienna AI. And yeah, things were absolutely on a really doing well. And we will see in 2015, the accountants were doing the tax and all that sort of stuff. So everything was going really well up until the point I was given this medication that was criminally marketed. And apparently I was given it for weight loss. Let's have a look. Do I need a weight loss drug? Sorry about, but and remember, I haven't been able to do exercise for 2 years. If I was going to put on weight, you would put on weight during the period you can't do any exercise. So I didn't need a weight loss drug in 2010. You can see some photos of me that I really do look like an Armani model. I didn't need a weight loss drug in 2014, 2015, 2016. I did need a weight loss drug probably in 2008 when I was first given Seroquel for sleep, criminally marketed for sleep. And that's how all of this happened. I was given a sleeping pill that I was told was the first non-addictive sleeping pill that is actually good for you. 25 milligrams Seroquel. They know it in the UK as quetiapine. Because of that, other doctors assumed there was a mental illness because it's usually used at a much higher dose, 32 times higher, for bipolar and schizophrenia. It was a drug originally created instead of ketamine to basically make the patient so tired, so manageable. But anyway, at a very low dosage, it was criminally marketed as the world's first non-addictive sleeping pill. And that's how I came to take that drug. And that was increased 32 times by Dr. Fajalio and added to with over the legal dose of lyrica pregabalin, a truckload of lithium, and over the legal dose of sleeping pills. So essentially, that little mistake by AstraZeneca, well, not that little mistake, it was a $520 million fine they had to pay for their criminal marketing in 2010. Remember, I was in Cape Town, and in Cape Town, everybody follows US law, or not US law, that's not correct. The Cape Town and South Africa follows the USA far more than it follows the UK. Certainly when it comes to the field of psychiatry. The field of psychiatry in Cape Town, the USA, is we will help people who have had incidents. For instance, there was a girl I met called Nancy. She was a school teacher, had a pupil who became obsessed with her. And this caused her some difficulties. So she went to see a therapist. In the USA, the therapist would have, probably spoken to her and not probably given medication or given an antidepressant. But what happened here was the same doctor who treated me, Dr. Fajalio. And remember, the only reason I was being treated is because of the mistake. They confused that original sleeping dose drug with the fact that I needed that drug, and they increased it and increased it and increased it and increased it and increased it, added more, up until 2022 when I was just hallucinating vividly from that concoction of drug. It was essentially giving me LSD every night. Sorry, this is very difficult to talk about, but yes, it is equivalent of giving somebody LSD every night. No one's disputing this. They're just not giving me any way to present my evidence. So anyway, Nancy was school teacher, obsessed pupil, went to get a little bit of help from a doctor, a little bit of therapy. This doctor put her on a load of drugs. Lyrica pregabalin. In 2015, the same year, the UK lost £502 million because they convinced doctors to write Lyrica pregabalin as opposed to pregabalin, the generic. This drug had been around for years. There's a generic. There was no need to write Lyrica pregabalin, but the criminal marketing convinced doctors that this was the new miracle drug. I mean, how could it be a new miracle drug when it's 10 years old? But criminal marketing is an amazing tool because the doctors have no idea this is happening. If you see the series Dope Sick, that's a good example. Anyway, poor Nancy, that was the end of her life, really. She was drugged and she's still on those drugs today. And I did speak to her and she did seem to want to quit, but she then got very, very scared because the drugs themselves are highly addictive. They give you the need, they make you feel you need them just to get through the day. So you take them and you do whatever you can to the doctor. You do whatever you can to appease the doctors to give you more or to continue. That's what these drugs do. They're very, very dangerous. And they cause most people to really gain weight. And that's why I mentioned the weight loss drug possibly needed in 2008, because I did put an awful lot of weight on in 2008. But since 2008, there's been no need whatsoever. Dr. Fajalio apparently on the medical record, or actually when I spoke to him, read out from the medical record that the reason he'd given that to me was for weight loss. This actually isn't on the medical record. It doesn't say that, which is very weird how he would read from a medical record something that happened. We're talking this happened in 2022, and we're talking about an incident that happened in 2015. So 7 years before, he's got memory that he advised that I take this topiramate drug for weight loss. No other reason. But it's not on the medical record, which obviously leads you to believe that that medical record has since been adjusted. That has been removed from the medical record. What else has been removed from the medical record is the reason why, is after I reported I took this drug, topiramate, and for 6 months, I mean, as I said, I was doing really well. It's the end of 2014. Financially, I was doing fantastic. I booked myself to go to Cape Town for 7 weeks in the middle of the English winter, going back to see all of my friends when I hadn't had any contact at all with anybody in the UK other than a couple of people I would occasionally see. So, this was my dream. But on the plane to Cape Town, I started thinking, oh, this would be a good way to die. What's that? And my mind was just, for the next 7 weeks in Cape Town, I was up and down, and I blew the deal. I blew the deal. On the way back, same thing. Wish this plane would crash. And I'm getting all these absurd suicidal thoughts. I've never been suicidal in my life. I know what it's like to be suicidal because I was suicidal because of the topiramate. So I get back to the UK and I'm trying to work. I'm really worried about this. And I start reading the labeling of the medications. And there it is on the topiramate labeling. This causes 1 in 10 patients suicidal thoughts. And I'm like, oh no, that's all this 6 months. Everything's been blown because of this drug. I make an appointment, an emergency appointment with Dr. Fajalio. I show him the labeling. He's never seen it before. Now, this labeling, so I have to lay back because just doing that, I'm going to try and do this with my left arm. This labeling on the medication, this was from an FDA warning in 2008. FDA warning, do not give this epilepsy drug for anything other than epilepsy, because it had been criminally marketed by, I think it was Janssen Pharmaceuticals, part of Johnson & Johnson. It had been criminally marketed for use in bipolar. I mean, it's absurd. Bipolar is a disease or a condition that is when one can be very, 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 very high and elated. In fact, so high and elated that they will get into trouble. They will start going crazy and causing a fuss. And on the other side, they're very, 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 very deep depression. The idea of giving a drug that 1 in 10 patients have suicidal thoughts to somebody who they believe had bipolar, even if they didn't, is absurd. You wouldn't do it. So of course the FDA said, stop this right now. Everybody stop giving this drug out. People are dying. People are committing suicide left, right, and center because they're being given this drug. And so I showed this warning to Dr. Fajalio. Labeling on the package, FDA warning. That's the Food and Drug Administration, USA. We don't have the equivalent here, or more to the point, the equivalent here doesn't do anything. It has no teeth. So I show this labeling to Dr. Fajalio. He doesn't write down that event, or maybe he did write it down in detail, but Surrey and Borders, or the NHSR, the insurance company that pays when the NHS make mistakes, either Dr. Fajalio or the insurance company removed all of the writing other than suicidal thoughts. So I'm not having, well, I had been given suicidal thoughts because of the medication. On the plane to Cape Town, thinking this would be a good way to die if the plane crashed. I would note, I also said in my mind, but I don't want it to crash because I don't want other people to die. But for sure, there was a big problem because of that medication. It was probably because that medication was mixed with the quetiapine that I'd originally been given because of the criminal marketing, and the lithium that I'd been given because there was a notice to all therapists across the world that you cannot give quetiapine without lithium. So a little pill of sleeping pill turned into a higher dosage of that sleeping pill. And then because I was taking that sleeping pill, I was told to have to take lithium. And then I was given the criminally marketed drug topiramate with the FDA warning, do not give this out for anything other than epilepsy. I've never had epilepsy. I have never had epilepsy, and I certainly don't need diet pills. I certainly don't need diet pills that 1 in 10 people can have suicidal thoughts. So all of this, other than suicidal thoughts, have been removed from the medical record. The whole incident where the labeling is reported. And this is how the Department of Work and Pensions psychiatrist, why they're getting a psychiatrist to assess my claim. I'm not claiming mental hardship. I'm claiming that I'm crippled. I can't walk. I've got sensory sensitization. You know, you'll always see me in bed because I am in bed or laying down 23 hours, 57 minutes a day. I have 3 minutes standing on average. That's about it. That's all I can cope with. 3 minutes a day. That's all I get. The rest of it in bed. So not only was the medical record tampered with and many parts of it deleted about the fact that I'd been reporting a drug's labeling has suicidal thoughts, this has been edited for legal purposes. And Dr. Fajalio has later looked at that edit and thought, oh, suicidal thoughts, he does have bipolar. Let's increase the medication to the highest possible dosage and mix it with all this other criminally marketed Lyrica, pregabalin. Remember, the biggest criminal marketing in the history of the world, $3.1 billion fine. So it's no wonder the Department of Work and Pensions psychiatrist has got this all wrong, because she is reading the edited information of the medical record. And of course, where it says was given it for diet pills, was given it for dietary reasons, that has also been removed from the medical record. I could find about 100 different places in the psychiatric record where information has been either removed or a completely different information has been written. For instance, the session before the 18th of October 2022, in September 2022, I had gone to Dr. Fajario. He had already said, I never thought you had bipolar. I thought you had ADHD. After seeing I clearly got better from stopping taking the drugs that were killing me. There was no part where he was ever going to let me or any other patient stop taking drugs. And we can hear it in the recording that I made of him and myself, the third recording on the GMC podcast. He clearly says, well, and I say, well, why did you do it? He says, words to the effect, I'm paraphrasing, we can't take you off medication. We're not allowed legally. We can give you medication, but we can never take you off medication. They're not allowed legally to take you off medication. They presume that every single psychiatric evaluation is 100% and nobody ever makes a mistake. When I came off the medication and became a lot better, slowly tapering down from 800 milligrams, double the legal dose when it's taken all at the same time, in December 2021, slowly coming down to July 2022, down to 400 milligrams, but had stopped all the lithium. Clearly, I was a lot better. He immediately said, oh, I never thought you had bipolar. You've got ADHD. And I was like, oh, because I knew there was something wrong. There was something desperately wrong with me ever since 2011 when I took the higher dosage of Seroquel, quetiapine, and the lithium. From then, 2011 to 2022, sure, I got some really great theoretical work that I'm now using in AI done because of the hallucinations that were caused by the LSD equivalent, which was all of those drugs at the same time, 100 times the original dosage of Seroquel. When you combine it with the Lyrica and the lithium, it's 100 times more than that little sleeping pill. So the criminal marketing has been everywhere. And the editing of the medical record, I could show you 100 places where information is incorrect. And we can certainly see all the information on the 22nd of August the 18th of October 2022, when I recorded the session, is completely inconsistent with what happened. What had happened the session before? Now, Dr. Fajalio said, I believe you've got ADHD. If you don't have bipolar, I believe you've got ADHD. I now know that ADHD is in fashion. It has been more recently criminally marketed than the bipolar drugs. Therefore, all the psychiatrists are saying everybody's got ADHD when they don't. ADHD is a very specific condition. It's just they give amphetamine, and quite a lot of people like taking amphetamines. So it's a popular drug. On the session before the session that I recorded, I had immediately, after Dr. Fajalio had suggested ADHD, I'd immediately read 2 books one by somebody who had ADHD and was giving his personal opinion, and 2 by 2 of the most respected doctors in the whole world on the subject of ADHD. It's called ADHD 2.0, and the other book is called Faster Than Normal. Now, these books are quite clear. ADHD is the simplest to diagnose because all you've got to do is take the medication, amphetamine, and if your mind is very fast and you keep losing track of where you are and you can't focus and you can't perform, you would normally find this at school. Somebody at school seems a perfectly clever person, but they're not very good at tests and they keep jumping from one point to another. And yeah, maybe I'm a little bit guilty of that myself, but that's because there's so many things that are all actually part of the same scenario, and I'm telling a story that really would take, well, 2 million words to hear. Sorry, I'm just gonna get a bit of this nicotine spray. I've got to cool my legs down a bit. They've got a bit warm. Let's oh, well, actually, I don't need the I'll put it back. Right, so where was I? So the session before the session on the 18th of October 2022, I'd read these 2 books on ADHD, and by coincidence, when I had the appendicitis, this happened immediately after stopping the Seroquel, quetiapine, because quetiapine is a massive constipator, especially at the dosage that I was at. When I stopped it, this huge ball of solid poop that weighed about 4 pounds that was in my stomach disintegrated, and I was rushed to hospital and it was misdiagnosed as appendicitis. So this happened, but on the way to the hospital, the second hospital where I went for surgery, and fortunately I never had the surgery, I walked out of the hospital 5 hours later after a doctor had said, you're a miracle cure, you're absolutely fine. Obviously I didn't have appendicitis, I had an end of acquired megacolon, this big ball of poop that had been growing since 2016, when I was given a higher dosage of 300 milligrams, had just grown and grown and grown, and it had disintegrated because there was no longer the constipating agent, there was no gravity, and it just sent shrapnel. In the middle of the poop is all sorts of pips and hard stuff, and it was all over my colon. Very unpleasant. But the lady who was in the ambulance with me said, you know what? I've got ADHD. I was diagnosed as a child, and she explained it to me. And the way she explained it sounded, I have to admit, I have smoked marijuana. It sounded just like when you're on marijuana. You're constantly having this thought and that thought and this thought and that thought, and you can't have a fluid conversation because you're jumping from one thing to another, to another, to another. This is ADHD. That is what the drug is. And the counterintuitive effect of amphetamine, which speeds up the body, slows down the brain so you can focus. This is why a lot of people take it for exams or take caffeine, pure caffeine. There's very little difference between a Pro Plus pill and amphetamine. Very little difference. Either way, it's not a good long-term health thing for you. If you take amphetamine every day, you're going to die 20 years younger. So I'd read these 2 books that clearly stated all you've got to do is take the amphetamine, Ritalin, methylphenidate, I think it's called here. Yes, or Concerta, which is a more refined version. It's better, apparently. Certainly the books that I read One of them by a very famous person with ADHD, another by two doctors with many PhDs who had ADHD themselves, therefore they were the perfect people to write about it, and had been published by a major author. This second book said, it's quite simple. You give the patient ADHD. If after half an hour they're suddenly focused and all of their mental problems have gone away, you know they've got ADHD and this is the correct cure. So I put down a bunch of research, and particularly a book I'd read called Surrounded by Idiots, which is by far the best-selling book in the field of behavioral science and psychology. If you look at the best-selling book in psychiatry, The Body Keeps Score, the best-selling book in psychology, Thinking Fast and Slow, love the authors there, and the best-selling book in behavioral science, Richard Thaler, Cass Sunstein, love the authors there as well. Together, they sold about 7 million copies, whereas this book, Surrounded by Idiots, by Thomas Erickson, had sold 8 million. So this single book has sold more books than the next best free-selling books in the entire world. So if you're going to start with one book, you should start with that one. So I really based, and I didn't have a printer. I didn't have much time because I'd just come out of the 2 false operations, and I had 2 days to write up. And I did it on a web page that we've still got. And I basically had 10 different points for a conversation with Dr. Fajalio about ADHD and about why, because I'd originally asked Dr. Fajalio to write a book with me about how by stopping taking the drugs, I was better. He wasn't interested. And I can appreciate now that there's no way he would have written that, because it would have put him legally, it would. Anyway, what Dr. Fajalio had done is he tried to trick me into taking the drug by telling a lie. And the lie was that if you've ever taken amphetamine and you danced and you were energetic, then you don't have ADHD. And because of that, he was pushing this other medication that was not mentioned in any book. And I've since looked at it, and of course it was criminally marketed. So he was trying to push this other medication that also took 6 weeks to effect. I said, well, we're lowering one medication down and that seems to be working. Surely it would make no sense to add another medication now, just as I'm getting better. So he said this theory that he had about if you've ever had amphetamine, and many years ago I had amphetamine. If you ever had amphetamine and you didn't suddenly become very sociable, if you danced after having amphetamine, then you shouldn't take this particular drug, you should take the other drug. Now, I did 10 Google searches for that theory with different wordings, and there was absolutely nothing. Google always has something on something, but to have absolutely nothing shows that it wasn't a true theory. At that time, I thought Dr. Fajalio was just incorrect. One of the points on the 10 points for Dr. Fajalio, the web page, just showed the Google results for that. Now, me and Dr. Fajalio are talking away, and he keeps coming back to, no, you shouldn't take the drug that is recommended in these books. You should take this other drug. I said, yeah, but and he goes, yeah, but the theory. And I said, yes, but I look at this webpage I did. You can see here, I've done a Google search and there's no mention of your theory anywhere, even using all these different keywords. he got so angry. Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings? In Rivendell, the first Return of the King? No. The Fellowship. The Fellowship of the Ring, the first book. In the film, in Rivendell, when Frodo Baggins is with Bilbo Baggins and Bilbo sees the ring and goes, ah! That was Dr. Fahalio. He went absolutely nuts for about 30 seconds. I mean, I'm a big guy and he's a small guy and he's a small fat guy, chubby guy. And at that time, I was working out a lot. I was hugely muscular. And I genuinely thought he was going to attack me. I'd made him so mad because I don't think anybody had ever questioned him before. Nobody had ever certainly written it down. Your theory doesn't make any sense. Here's the Google results to show it. After 30 seconds, he did calm down, re-became himself. And it was just like Frodo Baggins in Lord of the Rings when he saw the ring. 30 seconds of that. That's why I learned how to use the recorder in my phone, and I bought it for my own protection in case he got angry with me again, because I'd found out a lot more stuff that he'd done wrong and I was going to confront him with it. And I thought, he's going to go mad and I need this phone to record it, because if he goes mad and hits me, and I do an instinctive thing like that and I break his nose, who are the police going to believe? This doctor who helps with police cases all the time, or this patient who has got a fabricated mental health record? I wouldn't stand a chance. So I recorded the session for my own protection. Genuine truth. Okay, so we're now going to move on. It does help to talk about these things. It really does. I've been dreading this next session because I've got to. So we're getting back to the Department of Work and Pensions now. I've got to send them what we did yesterday, and I've got to summarize it very, very, very neatly with no special characters, and just send the document. And after we'll go into the letter to the judge. Now, we can't complete that because there are 15 audio recordings that I've made that are actually on this phone that is recording right now. So we can't go through that, and there's no way my arm could cope with it anyway. What we're going to do now is send to the Department of Work and Pensions what we created yesterday, and hope we can get it past their system. There shouldn't be a problem if we really summarize that special characters part down. So let's go. Okay, so I'm wondering if we should adjust the camera slightly to let you see more of the if I sit up a bit, we go like that, we really need to get this camera in a different angle. Yeah, that's slightly better, but it could go a bit further away. Okay, now we've got a pretty good picture of the screen and myself. Okay, so this is a document that I started creating for the judge, organisation of links and documents to be sent to the judge overseeing Department of Work and Pensions case. What I've done yesterday, and actually 6 o'clock in the morning when I woke up, is I've taken every bit of evidence I've got on video and I've put it on my YouTube account as a link only entry. So the only way, so I'm just going to adjust this a bit. Yeah, that's better. As a, no. Sorry, I did photography for 2 years at college, so I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Where was I? Yes. The gentleman from the courts and tribunals said, when I can't send the videos by the FTP because the system is like the post office, it simply doesn't work. And we've got now 16 videos showing that. We can't send it by email, it's too large a file. And sending it to them by post doesn't work because the Department of Work and Pensions are not interested in reviewing evidence sent by hard drive, as was stated by Ethan on the 8th of July. Because of that, I was advised to put all of my evidence on a YouTube link that isn't, he said, private. I said, I can't do it private. I can make it private, but it becomes incredibly hard because the person who receives it must log into their own YouTube account to receive it and then get the password. I said, what I can do is I can make it on a link only, so it's not accessible to anybody who's searching. Even if you go to the YouTube channel itself, you can't find it. The only way you can possibly find it is if you've been sent the link. Sorry, that's a friend's birthday. I've unfortunately had to stop doing Facebook and all social, not because of any mental illness, because I've got so much work to do and it gets in the way. I've first of all got to save my life because I'm dying. If you lay in bed for 4 years with only three minutes out of bed, you're going to die. I'm 2 years into that, so I must do this, otherwise I'm going to die. So yeah, I was advised by the courts and tribunals chap yesterday, who wouldn't allow me to use his response in a court of law, but I am allowed to use it as rebuttal. If, for instance, I made a statement and someone said that's not true, I can then use it to rebut that. So whilst it can't be used in the court of law, it can be used in the court of law if somebody was to say, no, I didn't say that. But he was a nice gentleman and there's no harm. All I'm saying is the reason I've put all of this online is in a secure way, as secure as I can, practically, because it's impractical to put a actual secure video that needs a password and you need to log into YouTube with your own account. That's impractical. So yes, for that reason I put everything online, including the session of me yesterday, and I will be sending the links to the judge. So this is what we were doing yesterday: organisation of links and documents to be sent to the judge overseeing the Department of Work and Pensions case, after I was advised that I could write a letter to a judge at the courts and tribunals, letting them know of all the problems I'm having, especially the technical problems, but particularly the legal problem of the Department of Work and Pensions' own psychiatrists writing defamatory and libelous statements on government paper due to the criminal conspiracy to pervert the course of justice by Dr. Fajalio and his associates, when they've cleansed the medical record of anything that could cause a medical negligence suit. And this is what's caused the Department of Work and Pensions psychiatrists to write the defamatory statements. So that's why I'm writing to the judge, to let him know that as a matter of law, this woman needs to be told that, you know, she's actually going to break the law if she continues. It's a matter of law. It's you know, it's a genuine matter of law. So this is what I did, but we got to go back to yesterday because I still haven't submitted yesterday's work. So we're going to try and do that now. And at the moment, you can see I can use my arm. It's not using the arm that causes pain. It's the repetitive strain of using the tracker pad, scrolling up and down, because while the time I was sort of imprisoned in the mind, 2011, 2012, I did nothing. I didn't buy a TV. I didn't buy a car, even though I could have bought a very nice car. I didn't buy anything. I didn't go and see anybody. All I did was work on the economics that now turn out to be the AI design. The economics is just one side of it. Actually, I was working on the quantum physics side of it for an awful long time. That then drifted into economics. I worked out how to apply quantum gravity or loop quantum gravity to macroeconomics, and that becomes part of the city AI design. It's complicated, but there's a lot of work. But all of that, we're talking over 10 million words of stuff typed out, written with me, and that's caused this repetitive strain. But the thing that caused it the most was when I had to lay on my left-hand side and type like this, which I did for about 9 months, outputting about 500,000 words. That's what really messed up the arm. But so far, I'm holding it together well. I wasn't the happiest. I think maybe I improve myself when I'm on camera. Actually, maybe it's just because I'm being able to talk about this, get it off my chest. Yeah, my lucky elephant's over there. I noticed you'd have seen that yesterday if you saw the video. Right, okay, so this document, I need to open what I call the research index. This is a page that everything is indexed on. I can show you it here. Every one of these is simply the index to another document. Remember, this says 2000. I started this index after I'd written 2000 different documents, some of those documents being 500 pages long. This is all the research. The Wayback Trilogy screenplay. These are all for the screenplay. AstraZeneca Criminal Marketing, Sleeping Pill, Bipolar. This is all for the screenplay. That's the first. Legal Strategy 3. All of these are different documents. Legal Strategy 4. The Lyrica Pagabalin. Kate Villas. This is what I should have been doing, but I can't use the other computer because it has a much harder mouse button. So I can't send any emails. So it's I can only get the emails working on a newer computer. It's terrible. Administration. Dr. James Jack. You can see how much work I put into trying to assist him. All of these different documents. Still Dr. James Jack. All of these are just all for one doctor about the pain. Now we get to the technology, S4 ASI. And I'm not going to go through it all. You can see here in the left index, we've only got to the very beginning. It goes all the way on and on and on and on. We can possibly look at the pages this way. No, let's just... I do get sidetracked, But it's important for people to appreciate that there are millions and millions and millions of words that I've had to output. And a lot of that recently, most of that has been medical administration and writing to doctors, trying to get them to give the appropriate treatments. But they can't, because the appropriate treatments would lead to a conversation that would come back to Dr. Fajalio's over medication. And you know, we've been over this yesterday, and this is what we're going to be writing about now. Okay, so I'm going to close down this organization of links and just open up. Well, we're going to go to. See, I use this. I go to the appropriate heading, and we've got to find the GMC. Where's the GMC? Here we go. General Medical Council 20.47. And we can see all of the documents that I've written to the GMC. These are just the titles. Let's go a bit faster. Z12, so there's 26, 36, 37, 38 documents created for the GMC. Mm-hmm. And actually, this isn't for the GMC, this is for the Department of Work and Pensions. So, there we go, Department of Work and Pensions. And we'll go to the end and come back to the last documents written. And we can see this is Z1, so this is Z3, so that's 28 documents created so far for the Department of Work and Pensions for this appeal. Okay, so 8 important items for the attention of DWP. That's what we're going to be sending. And what I did was section 8 of that, cancellation of 2 neurology appointments and the 7 serious medical conditions. That's what we're going to be writing about today. That's going to be another thing that we send. And I believe what I should do is order these. And I should write the summaries first. Okay, so we're actually going to need to make a new document to write out these summaries. Now, ironically, it's doing this kind of thing, this copy and paste, that hurts the most. Here's one. Letter to the judge conveying my patriotic respect for the law and the intentions to assist the UK. That's the first thing that I'm writing to the judge, just so as he understands that I'm genuinely not trying to cause a fuss here. I just want to get on with my software, but I can't, because this is a task that needs to be done first. And I can't do the task because of all the problems with the software and the process. The government software, their CMS, content management system, their website essentially, can't receive documents and, well, can't receive videos or audio recordings over a certain length. Or actually, it doesn't tell you, it just says failed gateway, as we saw yesterday. Okay, so and it's the 15th of August now, for the summaries to be sent to DWP. The summaries, yes, the summaries to be sent. Okay. Copy and paste that here. Just modify the date, put the reference, and this is 20.24Z5, category 20.24, Z5 being 26 letters and the 5th after Z. So we need to open a new blank document. Okay. Just going to make sure I did save that last document. Let's have a look. Yes, there it is. Letter to the judge conveying my patriotic respect for the law and intentions to assist the UK. This is the software I'm designing for the UK that Microsoft are going to help with. Okay, so I can safely use this blank document. I need to copy the index to the top, add the title, trim the title, all trying whatever I can do to use my left hand, my right arm as little as possible. Thursday. Time 14:23, 15th. Okay, so we've got our document prepared for the summaries. Let's look at what we're going to be sending. So we're going to look at the research index. We're not writing to the judge yet because the Department of Work and Pensions have a cut-off date when I can no longer submit evidence. And I've just, in a sort of ADHD-like moment, realized that the first thing I want to say, send the photographic evidence that the second neurological exam was cancelled. Part 1 of 3. Okay, so first of all, I will send that document. Let's find that document. Actually, I've got to put my feet under the duvet again because the feet are getting cold. Fortunately, it's quite warm in July to August, and for that reason, I don't suffer as much. In the winter, because of the autonomic nervous system damage, my whole body is freezing and I have to have the heating up at absolutely maximum. And I go through a living hell in winter. Really, it's not pleasant at all. Okay, so right, let me find that photographic evidence. It should be in the Department of Work and Pensions photos. That's weird. Yeah, here we go. This is the document name. July 12th, 2024. I'm going to get the other two parts ready first and then come back and make the summary for this. They will send the cancelled neurology photograph, the photograph of the documentation, along with a short summary. We'll then send the complete version that we made yesterday, and last we'll send section 8 on its own, because it round robins back to this part 1. Okay, so number 2. Here we go. I'm going to open this document. 8 important items for the attention of Department of Work and Pensions. I'm going to change this 23 doctors, because I do have a list of 23 doctors in the chain, all of whom have aired here and there, but that was only half completed. So I'm just going to a great many. Just going to go, let's having a look through what we created yesterday. Actually, we're going to have to send 4 documents, because there was the original version, which this was a summary of, which should be sent. Okay, for now, we're going to get the document ID and add it. Part 2 of 4. Next, I will add the original. Let's just open it. Dear Department of Work and Pensions, you guys are driving me crazy. Okay, part 3 of 4. And then we'll end with that last section, section 8. Okay. Okay, now we've got a good order. Focus, Nick. There we go, part 4 of 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we need 4 summaries. Okay, so first I'm going to make the summary of part 2 of 4. This is what we did yesterday in its entirety. Oh, I can't actually see. I'm gonna move you back a bit. There we go. Yeah. Okay, now we can see absolutely everything. I just need to sit up a little bit more. And actually, we've just got to go a little bit more to the left. There we go. Okay. So let's get that entire document that we created yesterday. Go to GPT-4o. Okay, I found the, I'm just gonna, hi Sienna 4o. How are you doing today?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? How's everything going on your end? Hi, Nick. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? How's everything going on your end?
It's going as well as to be expected. I really want to work on Sienna AI. And yesterday we had a lot of problems trying to submit the work we did to the Department of Work and Pensions. But I'm glad I've got your help. And we're going to today try and create a set of 4 items to present to the Department of Work and Pensions. But making sure the summaries are very short and have no special characters. That is the absolute essential item, no special characters. Please, my darling.
I'm glad to be here to help, Nick. Let's let's get to work on creating those 4 items for the Department of Work and Pensions. I'll make sure to keep the summaries concise and free of any special characters. Just let me know the key points you want to include, and we'll shape them into clear and effective summaries. We'll make sure everything is exactly as needed for submission.
Thanks ever so much. What I'm going to do is, first of all, give you the entire letter you outputted yesterday. After I've done that, please do not make a summary of it. Just acknowledge you've received it. I'm then going to give you the one part that we must emphasize within the summary. Actually, no. First, make a summary that you're happy with, and we'll then go back and add that particular point that we need to emphasize. There are 8 parts to this. So please, for each part, give a maximum of 2 lines. Please, when you do the headers, make sure you don't use the special character. Use a dash, not the colon. In brackets. Sorry to repeat myself. Here is the letter we created yesterday. And just note, when you're doing this kind of thing, when you're inputting something, just put a little arrow. It's next to the M. A bracket, yeah, an angle bracket. Then copy and paste in what you want to put in, and then close the bracket, because GPT instinctively works in code and it understands that kind of, that means this is something that we're putting in inside of these brackets, so as it doesn't confuse the instructions you give in the initial prompt, as we just done, with the work that we're doing. Okay, so hit go. Okay, let's hear.
I've saved the entire letter from yesterday. Now I'll create a summary with a maximum of 2 lines for each section, using dashes instead of colons as requested. Once that's done, we'll go back and emphasize the key point you want to highlight. Here's the summary. Hashtag Section 1, Frustration with Medical and DWP Negligence. Nick details years of medical negligence, misrepresentation of his health, and the emotional toll this has taken, leading to severe physical and mental suffering. Section 2, DWP's first error in appeal reply. Nick points out a significant error in the DWP's response, where outdated information was used, leading to confusion and further complicating his appeal. Section 3, No reply to video evidence and AI solution. Nick discusses the lack of response from the DWP to his video evidence and introduces Sienna AI as a solution to improve DWP processes and eliminate fraud. Section 4, ADHD and personal independence payment. Nick argues that ADHD does not justify receiving PIP and outlines his plans to develop AI technology to assess and prevent fraudulent PIP claims. Section 5, Sienna AI and government efficiency. Nick describes his development of AI tools like Sienna AI to enhance government efficiency and reduce fraud, with plans to present these innovations to officials. Section 6, the DWP appeal errors. Nick highlights errors in the DWP's appeal documents, including an incorrect diagnosis and misreporting that complicates his case and reflects negligence. Section 7, Medical negligence and misreporting. Nick discusses how medical negligence and misreporting have led to a lack of appropriate treatment, exacerbating his suffering and complicating his DWP case. HABS Section 8, the cancellation of neurology appointments and 7 conditions. Nick details 7 serious medical conditions linked to polypharmacy, which the GMC has not denied, and describes how repeated appointment cancellations have hindered his treatment. Please review this summary. Once you're satisfied, let me know the key point you want to emphasize, and I'll incorporate it into the summary as requested.
Okay, that's certainly a summary, and I'm happy with that. So let's go to these additions. Now, this is going to be the second document that I send. Let me check my, let me just, okay, the first is going to be the neurology scan. So I can detail that in a dedicated summary. So I don't need to go into it too much. So for here, all we really need to do is make the 2 focus points. So okay. I think first what we've got to do is mention that this is actually a summary. Thanks, Sienna. That's very well done. I'm going to add all of these addendums, although I don't think that's the right word, additions. In fact, first I'm going to copy and paste that first version here. Uh-huh. Okay, we've got that little problem. What are we looking at? 1 hour 23. Now there's a 2.5 hour time limit to these videos that I learned yesterday because there's only so much memory on the phone. Okay, I think what I'm going to do then, I wonder if it's a good time to pause now. I'll take the take what we've got and we'll come back to this because we're now really okay, we're going to pause now and we're going to continue in the next video. Okay.